G'day watchers, and welcome back to the channel to this video comparison of two watches which I hope will be much appreciated, because as of now I can only find one video on YouTube which directly compares the Steinhart OVM to this Ginault Ocean Rover date. So you know what we have here on the left corner, the very popular Swiss-German piece of the Steinhart Ocean Vintage Military, which I reviewed a while back, and I think it really is an excellent piece, excellent value proposition. And I said so in the various videos and comparisons that I've done of this watch. Over on the right corner, we have the Ginault Ocean Rover date, in this case with the date complication. I reviewed this not so long ago, and I think it is also an excellent piece. Of course, it's got a heavier price tag, but it's a serious American challenger to what I think is the usual order of horology makers. Now they both have 316L stainless steel, screw-in case backs and crowns for 300-meter water resistance on both, unidirectional 120 click dive bezels, of course, with these Rolex homage pieces. And they both have good lume, really quite good lume. Ginault have their proprietary gold sand lume, and Steinhart have superluminova, in this case in old radium variation. I think the Steinhart represents incredible value proposition, whilst the Ginault puts forward a serious challenge to the established order of what we consider horology makers in Switzerland, being widely considered the peak country. MSRP wise, well, on the left, the Steinhart is $440 USD. The Ginault is $1399 USD, so much heftier, effectively $1400 USD. There is a 40% discount that is intermittently available to many buyers. If you apply that, it still brings it to about $850 USD. So it's still roughly twice the price of the Steinhart, if not 3 times, if you look at full MSRP. So let's get on with the comparison here. So first up, in my usual 10 categories here, caliber. Okay, so the Steinhart is an ETA 2824-2, right? So original ETA movement. The Ginault, on the other hand, has an ETA 2824-2 clone movement, which, as far as the manufacturer has come forward and said, is actually mainly made in America, with the exception for a few parts, mainly the hairspring, the mainspring, the jewels, and I think the shock absorber. So both identical specifications really, 28,800 beats per hour, 40-hour reserve, identical specifications in terms of the jewels. The Steinhart is an Elabore grade, so it is regulated to plus or minus 7 seconds per day. The Ginault, on the other hand, has a 1,000-hour regulation, which they have provided a certification for, and they aim for as close to plus or minus 0 as possible. Of course, that's not real-world performance. What I'm getting out of Steinhart is 2 to 3 seconds per day or above average, whereas the Ginault is losing about 2 seconds a day. So very similar in terms of performance. I guess you could argue the Ginault is not absolutely proven, but it is a clone of the ETA movement. So I've given them the same grading for caliber, 8 for both the Steinhart and the Ginault. Right, design-wise, this I think has garnered a little bit of controversy. I think they're both very well executed homage designs, right, taken from Rolex Submariners, various types. I think the Ginault, design-wise, it does have the this excellent Rolex clasp with the glide lock there that I've demonstrated before, right? It's got the glide lock clasp there. Whereas the Steinhart, I think one of their biggest weaknesses is their clasp. It is just a pressed metal. It doesn't even have a button release. Whereas the Steinhart, I think, has the better bezel design. I think they've just executed that better. It functions better, maybe partly because of its size. So I think it evens out, and I've given design 8 for both. Some people would argue that I shouldn't give 8 because it is a borrowed design, but I guess if you're going to knock off marks, you're going to knock off marks identically. So it doesn't affect the comparison in that way. Quality, okay. Now, I think the Ginault is superlative in most facets. If you look at the bracelet clasps, the actual finishing of the steel, just the overall feel, the fineness of the transitions between polished and brush, as well as that enamel dial design. Not to mention it does have applied markers, whereas the Steinhart is actually a printed dial. I think no doubt I have to give the quality mark here to Ginault, and it really is very, very good. I think it's the equal of many Swiss, if not all Swiss watches I have seen at this price point. So I've given 9 to the Ginault there. I think the Steinhart is excellent. I've said this before, and I've stuck with the 8 for the Steinhart. So, I think there's not much question in my mind, at least. Ginault does win on the quality facet here. Okay, moving on to style. Okay, style-wise, yes, it is subjective. Okay, this category, I will be first to admit that. In this case, it's not separable for me. I think they're both, of course, Submariner homages. Rolex borrowed good looks. I think they're the same in terms of how stylish they are, how much I like them. So I haven't separated that on style. I've given 8 out of 10 for both the Ginault and the Steinhart. Okay, performance. I think this is very close. They both have equal water rating at 300 meters. They both have lume, which are good, and I think they're very, very close. Maybe the Ginault edges out a bit. The Steinhart, I think, catches up because it's slightly bigger in terms of the lume application. But I think they're very, very close. I think the Ginault has the better class because it's got the glide lock for extension. I think the Steinhart has the better functioning bezel. It is one of the best functioning bezels that I've seen. I think short of maybe the Planet Ocean, the Omega Planet Ocean that I've reviewed, this is one of the best and easiest, most visible bezels that I've seen. The Ginault just is smaller, not quite as easy to use. Of course, it's perfectly functional, but I think the Steinhart does win out there. So I've given 8 out of 10 for both on the performance stakes here. It wasn't separable, I think, in the end. Versatility. Okay. Both, I guess, relatively quiet dive watches. The Steinhart does have a grey dial. This one maybe is a little bit more quieter with the black. Steinhart is larger and heavier and thicker. So I think I have to give Ginault the versatility stakes here. 9 out of 10 versus 8 out of 10. They're both dive watches which do serve a wide range of functions, all the way down to very casual, perhaps even without a shirt on, all the way up to wearing a shirt and tie in the office, and maybe even a suit. I think they will be suitable. It's just that the Ginault does slide in a bit quieter on the versatility stakes, so 9 out of 10 versus 8 for the Steinhart there. Okay, durability. Right, exactly the same materials, right? They both are this 316L steel. They both have sapphire. They both have aluminium bezel inserts, so neither of these are ceramic. And also I would say they have the same proportions, in the design, the lug shaping. So I have to give the same mark for durability. I don't think one's going to win out over another in the longer or medium term. I guess you could argue the Steinhart is bigger, but I haven't chosen to, acknowledge that directly in terms of being a necessarily superior thing in durability. So, that's what I've gone with. I've given them both an 8 because they are, in my eye, really much the same in terms of what they're made of. Value. Okay, so here's where the separation for the Steinhart comes in. For 440 USD, you're getting a Swiss-made label, you're getting sapphire, you're getting excellent execution of a Rolex vintage sub-homage. You're getting, if you look at the finishing on the case back there and all over, it really is very, very good for its price point. And you're getting that elabore grade movement as well, which is excellently regulated in all the Steinharts that I have seen. So I think the value is really 10 out of 10. It really pushes the value proposition in all the watches that I have seen. Whereas the Ginault, I think they're serious about it. You can really see that they've put forward the best they can, but they had to do it for $13.99 or even at a discount $850. I've given 8 out of 10. I think it is compelling as a purchase, but nowhere near the value proposition that Steinhart represents here. Okay, moving on. Brand-wise, well, you know, they're relative babies, these brands, aren't they? Right? Ginault's been around for about 6 years, Steinhart a bit longer than that, but they're both 21st century companies. Really, in terms of the history of horology, they are really just, you know, infants, really, in that perspective. But I think they've put on excellent efforts. They've done really as good as they possibly can, I think, for what they have to work with. So I've given them 6 out of 10. Not more recognition than that. I think that's hopefully not too controversial there. Okay, and then the last category, X Factor. Well, look, I think the Steinhart is a very well-respected, well-loved homage to a vintage sub, which is very, very difficult for collectors to get his hand on. I think that Rolex 5517, you'd have to pay probably close to 6 figures, if not actually pay 6 figures to get your hands on one in excellent quality and condition. Whereas, you know, this, you know, is very, very affordable, and it does a very good job at homaging that. So, you know, X Factor wise, it is an 8 out of 10 for me. Whereas the Ginault, you know, I think if you look at all the work and story that has gone behind this, some of it is, of course, marketing hype. But you do get a feel that the company, the people behind it, are very, very passionate about it. It does feel like a labor of love. They've done their very best in putting a very, very well executed, high quality product. And it just feels that there's something potentially magical about this. You know, that's very subjective, but I've chosen to also give 8 out of 10 to Ginault for their X Factor. You know, that very intangible, very subjective category here. All right, so what's the spread like? If you've been adding up, you already know. It actually comes up to a tie in terms of, I guess, my particular scoring system. Now, in summary, I think they're both excellent homages. You know, they're two very good dive watches representing different philosophies, slightly different approaches. Right, one is Swiss-German, one is actually mainly American. They both have excellent design, right? Homage styling, borrowed design cues, and I think similar durability. You know, they really both feel very solid in hand. Now the caliber, I think, is difficult to separate. And Ginault is a clone at 2824, so it's a bit controversial, the mark I've given there, but I've given them the same for the caliber. Now the Ginault does win out on overall superlative quality. They've really done a very good job, as well as you know, slightly better in versatility here. But the Steinhart claws it back on sheer value proposition, you know, as I've explained in the marking there. So guys, that's the comparison. Let me know what you think. I'm very interested to hear what people do think between Ginault and Steinhart, and you know, what you would go for, what you might choose, and what you feel are the strengths of these particular pieces. Guys, if you like my videos, do consider subscribing. I put out content weekly, always aiming to be objective and unbiased in all things horology. Thank you again for watching, and as always, I will see you guys next time.